estate surveyors and valuers are known to be underrated, especially when it comes to urban property development. Estate surveyor and valuer develops, support, and maintain the environment and service of Nigerian citizens and the Nigerian economy to deliver their full potential and for the Nigerian economy to strive and remain competitive. This morning we are looking at asset valuation among other issues in the sector. I have a big fish in the house who's going to do justice to that, but that will be after. Stay with us. Welcome back. For just joining us, the program is Business, and this morning we're taking a look at the exit and surveyors and also value the importance to Nigerian economy. And I also have in the studio to do justice to it, I have Sir Emmanuel Okas Wike, the President and Chairman of the Council, Nigeria Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, and also of the institution. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning, viewers.
Just yesterday we saw you in news also making
all in accordance with our constitution. All the state governors are our patrons, while the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria is our grand patron. Apart from the constitution, we also try as much as possible to look at the governors that are friendly when it comes to real estate development, and also those that try as much as possible to take our services very seriously in their states. And we have found out that the governor of Ondo State, Akure Akure is one of those that have actually helped estate surveyors and valuers, especially in Ondo State and other parts of the country, in the sense that he has engaged the services of estate surveyors and valuers in Ondo State here in issues pertaining to acquisition and compensation and valuation. And yesterday he made it clear to me, and I was very happy when he told me that one of us is also a permanent secretary, and also he had employed more estate surveyors and valuers in the land department. That is different from what we have in some other states, where even the director of lands is not an estate surveyor and valuer. So this informed us to confer him that position, being is stated in our constitution that all state governors should be our patron.
Exactly.
So we are happy that he's somebody that is friendly to the estate surveyors and valuers.
So just you said all state governors are supposed to be your patron.
Yes.
Does it mean that it's automatic, even if that person is not also having anything to add to this sector?
Yes, that's why I said that apart from the constitution, we also look at the relationship we have, the relationship between the government or between the governor and our members in that state. Like there are states where I have just mentioned, and there are states where even the governor have removed an estate surveyor and valuer who is supposed to be the director of lands and bring in a non-professional. In that case, what we normally do is to appeal to the governor that he has to follow the civil service rule. So it's there in our constitution.
That particular governor is also your patron.
Well, we have not invested in Mr. Petro, but by constitution, he is. But we have not invested. Until you are invested as our patron, he still remains the governor of that state.
Okay.
Thank
Let's take a look at a critical use that also affects that sector.
Yeah.
Just last week or thereabout, we had this experience of a building collapse in Ikoyi. What's your take on this?
Well, I think, first of all, I want to condole with the government and people of Lagos State, and especially the families that were affected directly. It's very unfortunate that at our level of development, we are experiencing this kind of calamity because, one, what happened now is going to affect us directly and indirectly. Directly in the sense that we have lost life and we have lost the resources and the investment in that particular property. Indirectly in the sense that a lot of people will be dissatisfied or will not be willing to now invest in real estate because people will now be looking at alternative. Now that we are having this kind of calamity, building collapse here and there, don't I have any other source of investment? That will also affect people that are willing before now to invest in real estate. But I want to assure those investors that because this has happened doesn't mean that Nigeria is not safe haven. Nigeria is still a safe haven for real estate investment. Having said that, I want to say that without prejudice to the panel that the governor of Lagos State has set up, I will want a situation where those who were involved in this act should be brought to book. Any professional that is involved in this act that have neglected his duty as a professional should be persecuted because that will also help build up confidence in the people. Now, if we allow this one and sweep it under the carpet, what it means is that people will look at us that we are not serious about our ethics and the ethical principles of our professional services. We should be able to build that confidence from the public that, look, if a professional gets things wrong or neglects in his professional duty, that he should be prosecuted. That is number one. Number two is that let us not look at this as an opportunity to also punish the professional. I'm not saying that all the professionals that are involved in this particular design or construction should be brought to, but those who neglected their duty, those who neglected their professional activity, their professional service that would have saved the lives and properties and investment of this magnitude should be punished. Then number two, like I said, without prejudice to what the panel will come up with, we as estate surveyors and valuers, we are also trying to build up our own memo to the panel for them to look at the issues. We should be able to trace what are the causes of building collapse. We know that there are natural and man-made causes of this calamity, but then we are concentrating on the man-made causes. We should be able to trace it. We should be able to see how this can be reduced. If we cannot eradicate it, let us reduce it to the barest minimum so that investors will have that confidence that they can come and invest in Nigeria and that we will have the right professionals here in Nigeria that can do this job. We have professionals, we have Nigerian professionals who are doing well outside Nigeria. How come that when it comes to our country, we are having problems? So it means that something is sitting somewhere, either on the professional side, on the regulation side. On the regulation side, we are talking about government regulation and policies. We should be able to look at this and use this particular incident that happened to correct whatever thing that we have not done well before. I think this will also help us.
I know quite well that your role in terms of construction, it's not that thick when you take a look at the whole process of constructing any edifice. But I know quite well that the issue of quackery is also an issue to tackle with, even amongst your members.
Yes, Akure is almost in all profession. We cannot exonerate our profession or our institution from that. No, we have quacks, especially in the issue of estate agency. You have many persons who are not qualified to carry out the service of estate agency, doing that all over Nigeria. Now, as an institution, what we have done a few years ago, about 5-6 years ago, was for us to incorporate an association called Association of Estate Agents in Nigeria, where we try as much as possible to train and retrain those who are not estate surveyors and valuers, but who are into the business of estate agency, to train them and put a kind of ethics on how they should carry out this business of estate agency. And I can tell you that in a place like Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Abuja, most of the association is thriving very well, and most of the people who are actually practicing this profession in those areas are under this association. Recently, we have also sponsored a bill, or we're about to sponsor a bill through the House of Representatives, that there should be a regulation that will regulate the estate agency practice in Nigeria, just like it's done all over the world. It shouldn't be an all-commerce job. There should be a standard that if you want to practice estate agency, this is the standard, this is the minimum qualification you will have. And from time to time, there should be a certificate issued by the council or by the board regulating estate agency in Nigeria, so that at the end of the day, the menace and the fraud being used by some members of the public will be reduced. And you know, recently the chairman of EFCC and ICPC have alleged that the kind of money laundering in real estate is high. You find out that some of all this money laundering are not actually through the professional, but through the professionals. Like for me, as an estate surveyor and valuer, and as the president of the institution, I can tell you that most of my members will not want to burn their fingers in something that will make them lose their licenses. So, but there are people in the society who are actually into real estate agency practice that are not members of Nigerian Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. How is the commission trying to control the services of those people? For us as estate surveyors and valuers, we have our own internal mechanism on how we discipline our members and how we are supposed to carry out our practice. And that is there. Our code of professional ethics is there. Our code of professional practice is there. So if you go contrary to it, we have our internal mechanism on how to discipline our members. But those who are not our members are not within our purview, so we cannot discipline them. I think that the commission should also put their searchlight on those people who are not professionals but are into real estate.
Exactly. So that's exactly the point I was about to raise. That because these are the people that are also very close to the grassroots.
Yes.
So how do you now trying to bring them aboard so that you can actually control their activities?
That's what we have said before, that we have the association, but you know, until there is a regulation that makes it compulsory for you to be a member of that association, we cannot. Because our own is an advocacy, we are a pressure group. We have limits. But now that we are trying to, we want the public and the anti-corruption agencies to support our bill, to have a regulatory body on estate agency. That will even help them more, and also help us who are professionals in the real estate sector. And once that is done, I'm sure that the issue of fraud, the issue of money laundering using the estate sector will reduce drastically.
At your meeting just ended in April in Benin, you talked about the high cost of building materials, you talked about power supply, and as well as security challenges. How do you think this is also affecting your sector?
Well, we all know that in Nigeria here, over 70% of our building materials are imported. And what that means is that for every time you have increase in the value of naira, the valuation of naira, or increase in the foreign exchange, there's every tendency that the cost of building material will increase. Now, if you have, take for example a very simple one, the tiles we are using, the floor tiles we are using, you import from China or you import from Italy. And before now, per square meter is about 400 naira per square meter. Now the naira is about $1 to almost 570 naira. What it means is that the one you are buying about $1 before, you will now pay almost triple what you are going to pay for that. And for those who have already bidded for construction, for building construction and other projects, and you use what the dollar used to be about 3-5 months ago as your benchmark. Now the value of naira is low. The value of dollar has gone up. What it means is that there is every tendency that that particular cost will no longer be realistic. What does that mean? It will increase the cost of construction. So for us, I think that what we are advocating for...
Before you go to that advocacy, let's take a look at the example you have just cited.
Yes.
I'm not quite aware that we also have these locally made floor tiles. Why is it that those in the built industry are not patronizing the locally made?
That's what's coming now, that we need to encourage ourselves. China, we are all rushing to now, didn't start today. China went back and tried as much as possible to develop their own local materials and use that local material to also go into the construction industry. And today, most countries are going into China to import materials back to their place. We should do the same thing. We should encourage locally produced materials. The only thing we need to do is to look at the qualities of those materials. And we have a government agency that will control the Standard Organization of Nigeria is there. We should be able to look at the qualities of those materials and make sure that they are up to the standard that will be used to avoid calamity and to avoid failure. Once that is done, I think it's better. Like we have cement. Cement is locally produced, even though that the cost of cement is still high. This is something that the government can, through fiscal policy, also encourage local materials to be developed and there. And then we are also advocating that the government should go into research and development. Some of these materials we can actually have here locally. What we need to do is to look at what is the raw material we need. How are we going to use this raw material to a finished product that can be used in the construction industry. Once that is done, it's going to reduce the cost of construction. Number two is power. Power is important. We have gotten to the level where the power generated and distributed in Nigeria is still less than what we are requiring. I think that the power sector should be able to try as much as possible to generate more power that will actually help the artisans, because that is where the problem is. We have a lot of people, a lot of those who are in the high income people who can buy generator. It's not all the artisans that have the resources to buy generator, but their services are also very important to the economy. So we should be able to assist by providing power. Then finally, we talked about security. Of course, in any town, in any place, in any country, in any part of the world where you have insecurity, nobody will want to put his resources. So I think that it is proper that we look at, and that's one thing we commend the governor of Ondo State. He has been fighting for the insecurity within the state, and I think that other governors should do the same thing. We should try as much as possible to localize the security apparatus of each state, so that the communities and the villages should be able to take care of their there is no part of the country that does not have a leader. Even in our families, we have our family head. In the community, we have the community head, and these persons knows who are the indigenous or citizens of that area. We should be able to localize it in such a way that we know ourselves. Let it be that it is the community and the local government and the state that are actually controlling the security apparatus of each state. I think that will help to reduce the insecurity.
Because we have a lot of issues to talk about here. We still have the issue of a land use charge. We still have the issue of enabling environment for the real sector. Well, let's take a look at this. Okay. And take a look at the estate where you have them in Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt. Why is it that the private sector are not also interested in having this real estate in other places of the country?
No, I don't think that is the private sector. I think that is the enabling environment. Remember that the private sector, the aim of every businessman is to make profits. Now, the funds that the private sector have, most times are not actually their personal fund. These are funds that they get as collateral from the financial institution. So when he invests that fund, he needs to pay back the interest and the capital to the financial institution. So if I'm going to invest my money in a place where I will not get profit. An investor will not want to do that. I think that the whole thing lies on the government policy. The government should create the enabling environment where the private sector will be able to invest his resources in the area that will benefit both the society and the investor. The investor in the sense that he has the resources. I can as well say, because there are different investment opportunities. I can take my money and say, okay, let me go and buy stock. I can take my money and say, okay, let me go into hospitality. But for real estate, what we're asking for is that let the government create that enabling environment. One, we've talked about building materials. We all know that most of the building material we import for our use. So what the government can do is to also give tax holiday. Okay, if you're going to import this kind of building material, we are going to allow you for so period of time to import and reduce the duty that the importer is paying. Number two, the government can also talk about easy access to land, because these are unit costs that increase the cost of construction. So if the government can create that enabling environment, you now know that the capital that the investor is bringing in will not have too much cost on it. At the end of the day, it will reduce the cost of the living, and the private sector are willing, because we have always advocated that the government have no business into direct production or supply of houses. They should leave that to the private sector, because they are the people that are into business. At the end of the day, where a lot of people are arguing is that if they allow it to the private sector, that the cost or the prices for those houses to be high. It's not true. Because if you have 2-3 persons that are doing similar work and your cost is, I'll go to another person. Look at what happened in telecommunication industry. People, when NTN came here, NTN was charging money. When Glo came, Glo did not collect money from any people, moved to Glo, and NTN brought their own, and at the end of the day, everybody has SIM card free of charge. So it's the same thing. Decentralize it in such a way that the private sector will be willing to come and invest. And those who are in need of this should be able to have access to it, number one, and provide robust mortgage system.
Exactly.
So where people can take money for a long period of time. In the seminar I attended last week, we have the family mortgage finance system saying that they have a program where somebody can actually take loan or take a mortgage for 30 years. Those are the kind of projects we are looking at. So that if I have, my salary is too small, in the next 30 years I should be able to pay back the loan. But we are used to carry business, and that will not help us.
Let's also take a look at this land use charge. The land use charge is also a policy that some states in Nigeria are also embracing. So what's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I think that for each state that have done it, it is an agreement between the local government and the state. Because, one, the Constitution made it clear that the local Schedule 4 of the Constitution made it clear that the local government areas have the right to collect tenement rates from the properties or tenements within their area of jurisdiction. Now, for those who have advocated for land use charge, what they have done is taking over the responsibility of the local government area and now administer that assignment for the local government and the state to share. Well, so long as it's not going to cause problem, no while, but the local government areas have the constitutional right by that schedule to collect tenement rates on their area of jurisdiction. For those that have finally agreed, I think that it is now left for the states and the local government area to now know how they are going to share the rates that are being collected. That is number one. Number two is that it is no longer only tenement rate that is involved in land use charge. There are other charges which the state government is authorized to collect. And I think that what they have done now is to combine everything, harmonize the tax system, where both tenement rate, the property tax, the neighborhood charge, and everything is combined into one single rate. So if the local government area that has the constitutional power have given out their constitutional power,
quickly, two things before.
But one thing we should do is that whether it is the land use charge, whether it is the tenement rate, it is the estate surveyor and valuer that have the constitutional power, that has the professional competency to carry out valuation of all those properties, both for tenement rate and for land use.
I was about to ask you about evaluation in Nigeria. What's your experience in this area of evaluation in Nigeria? Do you think that people are also disposed to it?
Yeah. A lot of people a lot of our members are engaged in both public and private sector valuation services, and I'm happy that government is recognizing us on that. Recently, we are doing valuation for forfeited assets to federal government through the Federal Ministry of Justice. We are also doing the same with ICPC. We are about to also engage EFCC, that all those forfeited properties by members of the public to the commission or to the government, they should allow estate surveyors and valuers to carry out evaluation. And secondly, the procurement law made it clear that you cannot sell any government property without evaluation by an estate surveyor and valuer. So we are engaging them to ensure that our services are recognized. And I want to commend the Ministry of Justice for giving us that opportunity. And let them also know, both for land and building and plant and equipment, it is estate surveyor and valuer that have the competency and the legal right to carry out valuation on those assets.
And so that means
for whatever reason.
And that also means that government is also engaging your members the more now.
Yes, government is engaging our members because we have tried as much as possible to get closer to our end users, both at the public level and at the private sector level. We tried as much as possible to ensure that we make our presentation to the government, to the ministry, department, and agencies, telling them our services that we think they will benefit from us, and they are being encouraged.
So what's the projection for this sector? Let's take a look at roughly in the next 3, 4, 5 years. What's the projection?
You know, the COVID-19 has actually destroyed a lot of things, and what we are doing now is to ensure that whatever benefit that comes from the COVID-19, we are going to build on it. There's a lot of new normal that we're experiencing. So for me, I think in the next 2-3 years, we should be back, and we should look at real estate sector as one of the sectors that will contribute greatly to the GDP of Nigeria. In
the last 25 minutes or thereabout, I've been speaking with Sir Emmanuel Okas Wike, the President and Chairman of the Council, Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, and also a fellow of the institution. I want to thank you so much for being my guest on the show today.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
Asafa is going to be on the show today. Join us on Friday for another of the program. Kunle Ariyo is my name. Good morning.